Hi, this is a quick overview of Hadoop 14898. Hadoop 14898 is about creating Docker images. For Hadoop, there is a separated gyro for create production quality Docker images, but here the main goal is just to help the development process. So there are multiple sub-issues. The first three is about creating a base Docker image and create a Docker image for Hadoop 2 and Hadoop 3 and upload them to the Docker Hub. And other three are about using for different use cases. And in this video, I would like to demonstrate these use cases to make it easier to review this gyro. So the first use case what we use very frequently is just do a build during a code review or after implement some new feature and just test it in a pseudo cluster. So what we need is a Hadoop checkout. So here is the Hadoop repository. I applied all of the proposed patch, and we can do just a normal build with this profile. It takes some time, so I will cut out a few minutes from this video. So I have the compiled Hadoop project, and imagine that I have a new feature and I would like to test it out with a more realistic cluster. So what is new that we have a Hadoop this target compose directory which could contain multiple subdirectory, multiple cluster setup. I have a simple one with HDFS, and I can just start it up with Docker Compose up. I have a running name node and data node. I could scale the data node that I need 3.1 for example. So data node. And because the ports are exposed, I also can check the name node UI. And you can see that I have all of the data nodes. So that's the first use case, and we tested it multiple times, and it was very big help to test the patches. What do we need for that? We need a Hadoop runner base image on the Docker Hub. This is an empty image which contains just a simple script to format the name node if it has not yet been formatted, for example. More details are here. And the other one what we need, just some compose file. We have one in the HDFS, but we can create new one for the yarn, for HA, for router-based federation, or anything else. Okay, let me stop this cluster and go to the second use case. The second use case is when you wouldn't like to build a new Hadoop from the source. So my proposal is just to include example Docker Compose files in the documentation itself. So for example, if I go to the Hadoop site, I can generate a new documentation. And I can check, for example, the HDFS HA with Quorum Journal Manager, where I added a new example. There are a lot of details here, but sometimes it's a little bit hard to get the right configuration just to start it. So there could be added a getting started guide for almost all of the features, where we can provide example Docker Compose and configuration files. And the only thing what we need is just to save it to somewhere together with the configuration. And I can go to that directory. I have the Docker Compose file and the configuration file. The configuration file, as you can see, contains example configuration, and the Docker Compose file contains all of the required components. And again, I can just start it up. Some of the dependencies are handled with this sleep. This is an environment variable, and in our starter script there is a simple condition. If the environment variable is set, then we can sleep for the given seconds. So with that easy trick, we can start the journal managers first, and after that we can start the name nodes. And at the end, because there is no zookeeper here, this is a simplified setup. After the end, we can just start a container and make the name node 1 as the active name node. Again, we can scale the data nodes up and down, and we can check the name node UI as well. Currently we have just one data node. Okay, that was the second use case. What we need for that, we need a Hadoop image in the Docker Hub, both for the Hadoop 2 and Hadoop 3, to make it usable without any kind of build. And we can extend any of the documentation page with example Docker Compose. And I believe it's a very easy method to try out new features. The third use case is when I need a test on a real cluster, but a Docker-based cluster. So back to my Hadoop directory. If I go to the Hadoop dist and the target directory, I have the Hadoop distribution here, but I also have a Docker file. It's a very simple Docker file. It uses the base image and adds the latest Hadoop, the custom Hadoop build to the image. So I can just create a custom image. And now I can use it. For example, I can push it to the Docker Hub or to a private registry, and it could be used from any kind of cluster. Typically, I use it from Kubernetes. So if you check my Kubernetes cluster, let's check the data node. So the stateful set data node. Here you can see that this data node comes from an external repository, and this is the easiest way to try it out, not just locally but on a real cluster, and I can test any kind of custom patches or implementation. What we need for that, we need a base image, and we need the Docker file. And that's all. That's, I think, the most important 3 use case. If you have any comments, feel free to comment on the HADOOP-14898 or any of the subjira, or you can also find me in email. Thank you very much.